Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Player Zone YouTube channel. Welcome back to our Premier League predictions for match week 20. We are beyond the halfway point now in the league season. Our first full game week coming for 2025, so absolutely cannot wait for this weekend. Obviously, got the big Northwest derby, Liverpool and Manchester United earlier on in the week, Spurs and Newcastle as well. So a lot to be excited about for this weekend's action and a lot of massive games to be talked about. So absolutely cannot wait for that. Looking back though to last week, one of my better predictions weekends for a long period of time. Came in on 115 points and moved to 125 of our prediction points after scoring 10 points last time out. If you're new to the channel wondering how the point system works, it's 3 points correct scoreline, 1 point for the correct result predicted, and obviously 0 points for neither. So not too bad last week. We'll take those 10 points. Double digits is what we want. I think the goal this year was 250 in the end. So we're sitting smack bang perfect at the halfway point. So looking to get a bit of a roll on come to the back half of the season. With that being said, ladies and gents, let's get straight now into our predictions. Our first game is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham take on Newcastle United in a massive clash for both these sides here. Looking at Spurs come off the back of that 2-2 draw last time out versus Wolves. They'll be very disappointed with that result there. Not one of their better performances and a late goal to concede there. And it's been the problem pretty clear throughout the season. Defensively, they're just not good enough to match the goals they can score at the other end of the park. We have good games for Kulusevski, good games for Maddison and Solanke. But for me, the big play at this current point in time is Min Son, the captain, the leader, the elder statesman, the picture boy, the face of the football club, has not been good enough in recent weeks at all this season, to be honest. He has to step up in this game here to challenge a very, very solid Newcastle backline, but a backline that can be got at. So he is a big player to play in there to stand up. Also that midfield. Basuma being very, very poor this season, has to lift. Pat Matassar will come in for Rodrigo Bentancur as well. So they both need to lift together. They both need to compete against a very, very strong Newcastle United midfield who are combative, who are strong, who are physical. And if those two are not their best, we see how poor Spurs can look. But then looking back to 12 months ago, when those two were at their best, Spurs are top of the league. So look to that midfield to be super, super important for Tottenham Hotspur, especially if they're not going to be so good defensively. Looking at Newcastle, a 2-0 win last time out at Old Trafford. Fantastic, dominated all 90 minutes there. It's 5 wins on the bounce, 16 goals scored in those 5 games. They are flying. Built on that front three, Anthony Gordon, Jacob Murphy, Alexander Isak. Right now, probably the most informed front three in the Premier League. They are flying. There's that link up again. There's balance, there's work rate with and without the ball, and they just link so well together. We know how good Gordon and Isak are together, but Jacob Murphy supplying an added depth that as well. You look to the midfield area as well. Bruno Guimaraes and Joelinton, fantastic last time at Old Trafford. They dominated Manchester United at the park. That'll be key yet again. And then for me, the fullbacks have been fantastic this season. Newcastle United, I think, play their best football when the fullbacks are defending well and can supply something going forward as well. And I look at that game. Trippier was fantastic. Obviously, he goes off injured, but Livramento and Hall in this game here will be pivotal to try and change the game. They're the X factors in many regards for this game here. With that being said, Spurs, they concede a lot of goals. I know they're at home, but I just don't back them in. No win in the last 3 games. I'm going with a Newcastle 3-1 win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Isak to get a couple and Anthony Gordon to get on the score sheet as well. Our next game is on the South Coast. It's Bournemouth and Everton for the Vitality Stadium. Looking at Bournemouth, a penalty point picked up last time out with a late equaliser at Fulham, a 2-2 draw there. Disappointed they probably didn't get all 3 points. They probably played the better football, dominated more of the key areas of the game, but just couldn't quite get over the line. But a positive yet again, though. It's 7 games unbeaten for Bournemouth right now. Some great attacking movements, great goals scored, defensively looking much better as well. And I keep saying it, Huijsen and Zabani have been the keys to this turnaround. Started a little bit slow this season, grew into the season. It's been built on that defensive structure and solidity. So those two have been fantastic. They have to be good yet again here. Yes, Everton aren't the most dangerous side going forward, but we saw versus Man City, they can get sides on the counter-attack. Eamon and Dye, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, they can throw their body around and really pressurise defenders. So look to those two to be key in this game to hold it down for Bournemouth and keep them on the front foot and a clean sheet in this game here. I look to forward, look to the attacking area. Semenyo, Uetara, Two players that create a lot of chances. We need them to try and score them. Against the Everton side, they'll sit in a low block, 6 or 7 behind the football. These guys need to be much more clinical in the final third because they create some of the most chances per 90 minutes, but don't score many when they get the opportunity. So look to those two to be much more improved in this game here if they want to beat an Everton side who are so defensive. Looking at Everton, 2-0, lost last time out versus Nottingham Forest. Not one of their better performances, but what we're used to with Everton this season. And not much on the front foot, defensively organised. That's the Sean Dyche we're going to be used to this season. It's going to be a tough game here to travel to Bournemouth. They were unbeaten the last 4 games prior to that loss, so good signs are there, but it's goals is going to be the problem for me. We've got those 2 centre-halves in Branthwaite and Tarkowski with Pickford in goal, who are fantastic. But we need some goals going forward. You need some more transitional play. Ian Dye, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, McNeil, Harrison, whoever's up top there, you've got to try and be more clinical, try and take the game on and make things happen if you're an Everton side, because Bournemouth are too good defensively and they're bound to score a goal if you sit in so deep for the full 90. With that being said, I can't see it being much of a surprise this one here. I've gone Bournemouth for 2-0 winners in this one here for me. Too much talent. The better manager, the better football, they get over the line here in this one for me. We move to Villa Park for our next game as Aston Villa takes on Leicester City. Villa obviously coming off the 2-2 draw versus Brighton last time out. We're wanting to see a bit more of an improvement in this game here. They would be hoping to get all 3 points last time out versus an out-of-form Brighton side. And in this game, with Duran missing, Rodgers missing as well, they've been their shining sparks this season. We're looking for other players to stand up. I've often said it, John McGinn sort of been subpar this season. Ollie Watkins has had moments in games but hasn't taken over a game yet. We're looking to other players to step up and try and make an impact in this team here. They're the 4th best team at home this season, Aston Villa, so we know they're good at home. We know that Villa Park crowd gets behind them, but we're looking for other players to spark that, get the crowd up and about, score that early goal, and it's going to come from other players, whether it be fullbacks, potentially midfielders pushing on, the likes of Yuri Tielemans as well, potentially. There's Ross Barkley into the side as well. So looking at other players in this game here to step up for Aston Villa. The attacking dominance I've seen in the last few games is starting to come back. We're starting to see more of what Unai Emery was implementing last season, which is a positive sign to see if you're an Aston Villa fan, but it's still really patchy this current point in time. They need a bit of momentum, a bit of run of form, a collection of games to get their season up and running. It sort of feels like this current point in time. They're without a clean sheet in their last 5 games, so look to that back line to be a key factor in this one here to build the result for me. Looking at Leicester, a 2-0 loss to Man City last time out. They have not won the last 5 games, no clean sheet in the last 13 games. It's pretty clear some of the problems are there to be seen. Their back line, Cody and Vestergaard in particular, at the back have to be much better, have to be more solid to prevent Ollie Watkins and Leon Bailey and these types of players getting opportunities in the final third. Keep Aston Villa at arm's length, and then going forward on the break, Bonalotze, El Canous, get the ball in these type of players' feet. They can make things happen. They can spark an attack, make something happen on the counter-attack. They're the sort of spark players you need to get the ball to as much as possible here. Because, as I said, Aston Villa haven't kept a clean sheet in some time. They're vulnerable defensively, so go get at them. Try and take the game to them early on and potentially nick the first goal in this game here. With that being said, who do I see winning it? Aston Villa for me. At home, one of the strongest sides in the Premier League. Leicester just don't look good enough at this current point in time. I'm backing Aston Villa in. 3-1 in this one here for me. Too good, too much quality, and the home team as well. To Selhurst Park for our next game. It's an all-London affair. Crystal Palace take on Chelsea in this one here. Palace obviously coming off the back of that massive 2-1 win versus Southampton. A bit of a relegation 6-pointer in many regards, but an important 3 points nonetheless. It's 2 wins and 1 draw in the last 4 Premier League games for Palace. It's been turned around in recent weeks. And the ability to break down teams with pace and precision on the counter-attack has been a key turning point for me. That ability to break with pace. Eberechi Eza, Ismail Assar more heavily involved. Jean-Philippe Mateta hasn't really been at his best this season, but has been important in different build-up plays. So the improvement has been there for Palace, but it's also built that defensive backbone. I've said it throughout the whole season. Palace look at their best, similar to Nottingham Forest, where they can sit in deep, absorb pressure, and get teams at the counter-attack. So Chalobah, Lacroix, and also Mark Gehi coming back into the side have to be at their best yet again. The key factor for this side is that back 3, and those 3 are probably the best players in the club at this current point in time in terms of form as well. So look to those 3 that are shut down Chelsea, but also be the backbone for that counter-attacking style of football that Palace want to play. Looking at Chelsea, the downward spiral continues. A 2-0 loss last time out away at Ipswich. Far from their best in the final third. and ability to convert chances has sort of slowly dissipated in recent games. 8 goals in the last 5 games is nothing to be frowned upon, but when they're scoring 14 or 12 goals in 5 games, it's a big drop-off, and chances are being missed, not enough chances are being created, so it comes down to that forward line there. No win in the last 3 games, but the second best team away from home. So look to them to bounce back here, get in the front foot, and get back to what they do best, which is winning games of football and attacking at will. I think Pedro Neto should come back in the side, Jadon Sancho as well. I think we expect a more stable front line here and use these attackers, use these creative players to get back to what you do best. For Chelsea, it's attacking football, it's goals, goals, goals. And they've gone away from that in recent games, and we've seen those 3 games that are win there. So look to Neto, Felix, Sancho to come back into the side and make a difference here, because Noni Madueke in recent weeks has been far from his best, and Nicholas Jackson looks a little bit isolated at this current point in time. So those others in the front 3 outside of Cole Palmer need to stand up. If they do, Chelsea get the win for me, and I'm backing them here. 3-1 for me over Crystal Palace. They'll make an interesting Palace, but as the game grows deeper, Chelsea's attack and talent will show. We move up to Manchester for our next game as City take on West Ham. City obviously coming off that much-needed 2-0 win away at Leicester last summer. Ends a game of 5 games without a win. Massive for them. Keeps them just in the hunt. And it always feels like when they're Man City, they can always claw back points and make things happen. They're a Pep Guardiola-led side with Erling Haaland, Ilkay Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden. So good things will happen eventually, you think. And that was a much-needed result. Far from their best performance, but looking much more quicker with the ball at their feet. Not the possession, 60-70% possession, which you're used to for Man City, but a more precise, aggressive, progressive style of football versus Leicester, which I think they should carry over into this game here. I touched on Savinho. He's been massive now in back-to-back games. A goal last time out. He'll be important yet again. I think he is their chance creator. He's their difference maker, an X factor, a player you don't quite think about because you're new to the Premier League, and he could tear this game apart here with his dribbling ability to find a pass, and in recent weeks get into a shooting position as well. Obviously, Erling Haaland found much more often last time out. Keep finding the big Norwegian. He'll find the back of the net. And he's been feeding off scraps in recent weeks. If you can force feed him the football, get him involved in the game, he starts getting that confidence up. City run away with games. It's a real fine balance, though, because we know how good West Ham are on the counter-attack. They obviously were battered 5-0 by Liverpool last time out. It's only 5 goals in the last 5 games. However, we're 4 games unbeaten prior to that massive loss. So, again, Lopetegui style of football. Don't score much, but get points. That's what West Ham are going to be under Lopetegui, especially with how poor some of the players have been and how poor the manager's been this season as well. You're not going to get those crazy 3-0, 2-0 or dominating performances. You're going to scrap out performances. And I feel like this game is made for West Ham here to go to City, to sit in deep, absorb some pressure. Nicholas Füllkrug, the main man up top, the out ball, and the back four keeping nice and tight. Wan-Bissaka, Emerson tucking in, and even like Alvarez sitting in front of that back line. Make it a back 5, back 6. When you win the ball back from City, counter-attack and try and nick a goal. I see it being quite similar to how the Everton game went a few days ago. I'm going with a 1-1 draw. I just think City won't have the ability to break down this West Ham side. They'll be dogged West Ham, and they'll get a point away from home here. Move to St Mary's for our next game as Southampton takes on Brentford. 2 teams that aren't in particular great form at this current point in time. Southampton obviously lost 2-1 to Palace last time out. No win in 10 games. 2 goals scored in the last 5 games. So highly unlikely they cause a threat on the front foot. They don't normally score goals. They're good in possession of the football but can't do much on the front foot. Tyler Dibbling for me will hold the key. He has been their spark this season. He has been their difference maker. He is a creator. He makes things happen. He needs someone to put the ball in the back of the net, though. Cameron Archer, potentially up top. Could he be the man up there? Onuachu as well. Can he be the man to find the back of the net? At this current point in time, chances are starting to be created, but there's not enough finishers, clinical players in the final third to make the most of the likes of the Tyler Dibblings of the world. In the midfield, Ugachukwu, Aribo have to compete against a very dogged, consistent Brentford side. If they lose that area of the park, I can't see them having much of a foothold in this game there. So that Southampton midfield is so important to compete with this Brentford side here. Equally so for Brentford, they're nowhere near their best form. A 3-1 loss to Arsenal last time out. Yes, they were competitive, but you look at it in a whole 5 games without a win. Not the same attacking football in recent games. They've dropped off a fair bit in that regard. And I guess against that sort of possession style of football the Southampton play, You look to likes of Roslev, Lewis Potter, and Bermo, Visser, that can make the most of a counter-attack, that are precise, that use their pace, can get into wide areas and break against this Southampton side. We've seen so far this season, that is their kryptonite. They can have the ball all they want, but once they lose it, they turn the ball over, oppositions get at them with pace, get at them with direct running, get at them in the wide areas. So those players in particular will be so important. And a big game required for Collins at the back. A lot of injuries, a lot of suspensions at this current point in time. He's the only fit and available centre half, so he needs to hold it down there, probably alongside a Janelt. It might drop in at centre half, so he's got a massive job to try and protect that back line, protect the goal as well from a very dangerous Southampton side in terms of possession of the football as well. For me, it'll be a counter-attack versus possession style of game. I think Brentford will just nick it. We know they're awful on the road, but they'll get their first win on the road here for me. 2-1 win at St Mary's for me, and Southampton's miseries grow. We stay down on the south coast as Brighton take on Arsenal. Brighton got a well-deserved point last time out versus Aston Villa. Much more of an improved performance, 2-2 there. However, have not won a single game in their last 7 games, and they've really struggled on the front foot. 6 goals scored in the last 5 games in all competitions. It's that ball movement, it's that pace and precision in the final third, and then I look to those sort of players that can change that. Yankuba Minte, Karim Matoma, when those two look at their best, when they're running at defenders, head down, dribbling past players, getting at the bar line, getting at the goal, Brighton look fantastic. When Brighton play with pace, they're a much different side. They don't look as vulnerable on the ball and in transition. And that's where I like Brighton. That's when I can back them in. And they're going to have to take that identity against Arsenal. Forget it's Arsenal. Forget the team, the players they're playing against. Just play your style of football, because they've sort of gone away from that in recent weeks, and it's sort of hurt the side there. So they need that same intensity, that same work rate and effort with and without the football to match what Arsenal have got on that side there. Obviously, they are flying. 3-1 win versus Brentford last time out. 12 goals in the last 5 games. Unbeaten in the last 12 games in all competitions. Probably the most informed team in the Premier League alongside Liverpool at this current point in time. For me, it's the other players. Gabriel Jesus stepping up in recent games. I think it's 4 goals in the last 5 games. You've got Martinelli last time out being fantastic, well involved. Kai Havertz has those games and he can be the X factor, the difference maker, and can fill that hole. But without Bukayo Saka there, and likely for a long period of time, these players have to be consistent if Arsenal want to keep competing for that title race. So Jesus again up top. Can you be that clinical finisher? Can you get involved in the game? Martinelli, can you pick the ball up, dribble past defenders, drop the ball off, get in behind? Can people start to fill the hole that Saka's going to leave? That's going to be important, because Arsenal, against teams that might put in a low block or might compete against them, Saka will be the one to pull them out of a tough spot. Someone else has to do that in this game here, especially how dangerous Brighton can be. Energy and intensity is the 2 words of this game here. Whoever has the high energy, the high intensity, with and without the football, is likely to win the game for me. And I just do back Arsenal at this current point in time. They're in fantastic form. They're working really, really well with the ball at their feet. The best I've seen them in some period of time at this current point in time. So I'm going to back him in. 3-1 win here for me. Jesus yet again being influential. I think Martin Odegaard has a massive role to play in this game here. We go up to Craven Cottage in London for our next game here. Fulham take on Ipswich in this one. They were able to escape with a draw last time out, Fulham. A 2-2 draw at home to Bournemouth. Far from their best performance, but a very, very handy point nonetheless. It's now 7 games unbeaten for this side. They've only had 2 wins, though, in that period. So they're a team that don't often convert on dominance or convert on leads they've got. So it's really important they can try and build in that and build that confidence back in this game here versus a vulnerable Ipswich side in many regards. For me, the X factor, the difference maker is Anthony Robertson. From that wide area, from that fullback spot, he has got the ability, the skill to tear this game apart. Both sides on paper are quite strong. Ipswich obviously not as strong, but the star of the show, the shining light, is Anthony Robertson. Plays so well at Craven Cottage, and look to him to be the difference maker to try and swing the game in Fulham's favour. As well, Wilson, Pereira, Awobi, these attacking creative players in midfield and wide areas. Look to them yet again to try and break down this really rigid, rugged Ipswich back 5 that don't like to concede many goals. It's going to take a lot of effort for them to break down Ipswich, but once they get one, I think a few more will come. So look at those creative players in the forward areas to make things happen for Fulham. Looking at Ipswich, they're flying off the back of that 2-0 win last time out versus Chelsea. It was an occasion built on a clean sheet that hasn't come in a long, long period of time. So it was a sight for sore eyes for Ipswich fans, and they'll look to build off that. Again, building from that back five there, keeping it nice and compact, denying Fulham many opportunities at goal. They're a team that don't often score big chunks of goals, Fulham, so if they can keep it compact, they can bring the game to 60, 70 minutes without conceding a goal, Ipswich, they might be able to nick a point or potentially or 3 points. If they just stay rigid, they keep it compact, and they keep Fulham at arm's distance, there's a chance they can get a famous point or 3 here on the road in this one here. Hutchinson, Delap on the break, on the counter-attack, they're going to be your star players. They're going to be the ones that can make the difference and swing the game in Ipswich's favour there. So look to those yet again, like they were versus Chelsea, to be the difference makers. With that being said, Fulham, fantastic form in terms of not being beaten. They're a hard team to beat at Craven Cottage as well. And with the X-Factor players like Robinson and Pereira and Wilson, which they've got, I can't see them dropping this game here. Going with the Fulham 3-0 win for me. Ipswich will make it harder, but I think Fulham have just got too much quality over this Ipswich side. Our penultimate game is the big one from the weekend. Liverpool take on Manchester United at Anfield. And I wish I could hype this up as a massive game, but we've got the top of the table, Liverpool, versus a very, very underwhelming, probably one of the worst Manchester United sides we've seen ever. So that's the storyline for you here. Liverpool 5-0 winners last time out versus West Ham. They've got 18 goals in the last 5 games. They've got midfield domination with Ryan Gravenberch alongside Alexis McAllister. Curtis Jones is firing at the number 10 at this current point in time as well. Diaz and Salah on the flanks. It's just every player in every position is in fantastic form. Trent at right back to his best. It feels like Virgil van Dijk is dominating the league at the centre-half position, probably the best this season in the Premier League. So all over the park, they win those battles. They win those areas. They've got players that love this fixture in Diaz and Salah as well. We've got creators like Jones who are in fantastic touch. McAllister alongside Gravenberch will run rings around this Manchester United midfield like Newcastle did last time out as well, where United lost 2-0. It's an uphill task, 4 losses on the bounce for United. Errors at both ends of the park, but errors just everywhere. Couldn't pass the ball versus Newcastle United. Midfielders not tracking runners for the early goals in that game there. And yet again, United did not start halves well. Didn't start the first half well versus Newcastle, went down 2-0. Didn't start the second half well versus Wolves. Previous to that, red card for Bruno, conceded a goal, and they lose that game 2-0 as well. Start halves much better, because I think if United don't start halves well, Liverpool could score 3 in the first 15 minutes and this game could be over. And I can easily see it going that way here. For United, you've got to look to that midfield. Manu and Ugarte both come back into the side for me. They got to compete. They got to just make it a scrap in there. Don't make it easy for Gravenberch, and don't make it easy for McAllister and Curtis Jones, and don't let easy access to the flanks where Diaz and Salah can go and dominate. If you can make it a scrap in the middle of the park, make the game ugly, potentially good things will happen for Manchester United. And obviously massive shifts required from Diogo Dalot and Nusir Mazraoui as well, because we know how good Diaz is, we know how good Salah is, and they love a game versus Manchester United. So those who have to be on their best form. With that being said, who do I see winning? Liverpool. And I see them coasting it. Could be 8, could be 7, could be 9. I've gone with a 5-0 Liverpool win in this one here. United are nowhere near it. Liverpool are on at this current point in time. So Liverpool 5, Manchester United 0. That brings us to a final game at the Molineux as Wolves take on Nottingham Forest. Wolves continue their fantastic start under new manager Pereira. A 2-2 draw away at Spurs last time out. Continue to be unbeaten under the new man. And it's 3 games now, 3 games unbeaten, 7 goals scored in those 3 games. So there's balance now. There's clean sheets at one end, not conceding too many at the other end, scoring goals, midfield competitiveness. All things are coming together now for Fulham. And it's fantastic to see. Obviously, in this one here, it's really, really important to prevent the transition which Nottingham Forest like to play with. So then the onus goes back onto that defensive structure, a structure which we need to see be there more often than not. So Semedo and Ait-Nouri, the 2 wing-backs, have to be super, super accountable, especially with how quick the wingers are for Nottingham Forest. Alanga, Hudson-Odoi, even the likes of Taiwangi when he comes in as well, quick players. Those wing-backs have to be switched on and accountable coming back defensively. Obviously, again, the midfield battle was massive, like it is in most Premier League games, but especially for Wolves. João Gomez and Andre are one of the most scrappy, competitive beasts in terms of midfields in the Premier League, and they can swing a game into Wolves' favour just because of how tough they can be in there, giving some yellow cards away, being physical. It could just swing the game in their favour then. Versus a very competitive Nottingham Forest midfield, those who have a massive job to play to keep the game in Wolves' favour. Looking at Forest, it's a fantastic run of form at this current point in time. 2-0 win last time out versus Everton. It's 5 wins in a row. The most clean sheets in the Premier League with 8 clean sheets. It's balanced at both ends of the park. There's quality all over the park. There's form in every single player on this side here. But in this one, I feel like yet again it's going to be built on that defensive brick wall led by Milenkovic at the back. Probably the second, argue the best centre-back in the Premier League so far this season, has come and done a fantastic job. He will not want to allow space for Cunha, Strand Larsen, Jagedes as well in the final third to make things happen. So he'll be touch tight to them. He'll lead that Nottingham Forest defensive structure, especially away from home. They'll want to counter-attack, use a transition. So Milenkovic sitting in and doing a good job there will be massive for the side. And then for me, Morgan Gibbs-White in the final third there. Such a massive game versus Everton last time out. The underspoken, probably one of the better number 10s in the Premier League. No one really speaks about him though, but he's super smart on the ball. So capable of driving Forest form those transitional plays, and he'll be important yet again to get at this vulnerable Wolves back line that can be exposed with good passes like Morgan Gibbs-White. With that being said, I know Wolves are at home and I know they've been good in recent weeks, but I can't bet against Nottingham Forest. They've been fantastic touch. There's goals in their game. They're so good in transition. I think the transitional play is going to be the difference in this game here. Nottingham Forest are too good at it, and I don't think Wolves are good enough to stop it. So I'm going with the Nottingham Forest 3-0 win away at Wolves. Really strange scoreline to go with considering the form of the two sides, but Forest in fantastic form. They'll keep in touch with the top 3 and get a massive win in this game here for me. With that being said, ladies and gents, that brings my predictions for match week 20 to an end. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not? Let me know your prediction in the comment section. Let me know your key plays for the game, the best games from the weekend. I love the interaction in the comment section down below, so please let me know down there. If you enjoyed the video, guys, smash a like and subscribe to the Players Zone channel for more videos and podcasts here on the channel coming up in 2025. Hope you have a great day. Enjoy the upcoming football action on the weekend, and I'll see you guys on the video very, very soon. Until next time, guys. See you later.